Welcome to the You at Your Best podcast. I'm your host, Morgan. Before we get into the episode, let me give a little bit of an introduction for anyone who's new. If you like listening to someone process life in real time, or you are neurodivergent, an overthinker, a perfectionist, or maybe feel things deeply, this is the podcast for you. This is a non-professional, very human podcast about choosing authenticity over performance. My goal is to remind you to always come back to yourself. I talk about very deep things. I don't avoid vulnerability, but I trust you to know what resonates, what feels safe, and what might be too much for you right now. And I also share a journal prompt at the end of every single episode to help you think. So join me if you want to create a life that actually feels like you, so that you can become you at your best. All right, let's go ahead and get into this week's episode. Hello, welcome back. I hope you're doing well. Right outside of my apartment, I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing something in the driveway. And it's loud, but I'm hoping you can't hear it on this episode because I have to record this episode today. And during my toddler's nap is the only time that I can record episodes. I have to work throughout the rest of the week. So I'm hoping that nothing is too loud. But this week's episode is going to be about springtime, romanticizing spring, having fun during the springtime, just kind of like things that I'm excited for during springtime, showing gratitude for the coming up season. I talked about in my last episode how I have been really struggling with almost like holding on to one version of myself so much that it's harder for me to allow the other parts of myself. I have been holding on to this identity that I am very introspective and I think a lot, and I am really good at processing emotions and thoughts through thinking, which is amazing. I love that about myself. But sometimes that can become so intense that I struggle to let myself have the other things that I need in life. I struggle to balance everything out. So I've been really working towards that. And honestly, it's been really hard. There have been times where I felt like genuinely really bad about myself. I have this problem where I make everything out to be a moral failure. So if I'm not balancing my life perfectly, then I'm somehow doing something wrong, which is exhausting. But this episode is a part of that, and a part of it's for everyone who's listening, of course, but most of my episodes, I make them because I truly need them, and I need to be kinder to myself while I'm working on bettering this part of me. And advice that I heard from somewhere, it was probably Instagram, I really can't remember, is something that I try to live by and I try to remind myself of every time I start making things out to be a moral failure. We're actually doing a lot better than we think we are. And I have to constantly remind myself of that. Like, I am a human being who is never going to be perfect, but how hard I'm working, that's amazing. And I sometimes tend to forget about that. So this week's episode is not about that, but it's about a part of the personal growth that I'm trying to do, because I think it's important to be kind to ourselves, but to also work towards our goals. Sometimes whenever I'm feeling something really intensely, I'll try to find something to distract me from that emotion so that I don't feel it anymore. But I've realized that what I need isn't to distract myself, isn't to make myself feel better. It's to take small steps towards being better so that those intense emotions and moral obligations and moral scrutiny that isn't fair on myself slow and die down a little bit, but also being kind to myself as I'm doing it. So that's what this episode is about. Things that I'm excited for this spring, because I think spring is for sensuality and basically just being in tune with your senses. So sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. Getting out of your head and being present with your environment. I feel like for me, that's a lot easier during the springtime. I actually have very distinct differences in my personality and sensory differences depending on the weather. Whenever it's cold outside, I tend to be more depressed and I have a really hard time being happy, but I don't really feel anxious. And then during the warmer months, I feel extremely anxious, but also extremely happy, naturally. especially when it starts getting dark outside during the winter, I literally just get this sense of doom for no reason, and I just feel extremely sad, and I like frantically do whatever I can to make myself stop feeling that, because it's the worst feeling in the world. And it's one of those emotions that's like, I can distract myself from it because it's not something that I need to process. It's just something that I experience. It's chemical. It's my brain's response to my outside environment. And I have a lot of sensory processing issues that make all of this more intense and make it even more difficult. This is something that a lot of people struggle with. It's like a seasonal thing, like seasonal depression. It's very common. A lot of people are very in tune with the outside environment, and their bodies naturally respond to it, even if they're not consciously aware of what's going on. I have only recently became conscious of it. And all this may be a little bit confusing right now, but this is just kind of like my experience, and I want to talk about this before I start the episode to kind of explain where I'm coming from and why I need this episode so bad. For me, music is incredibly important. I need music to function and especially to process emotions, but in different times of my life, I need it for different reasons. During the colder months, I usually process things through thinking more often because I'm more sad, and whenever you're more sad, you think more. So I need like Taylor Swift and things that are calming, because I get overstimulated a lot during the colder months. I'm very sensory avoidant whenever it's cold outside. And this isn't the rule, this is just kind of like a pattern I've noticed. It's not what happens all the time. I have both during each phase, but overall, whenever it's cold, I have to listen to music that is strictly lyrical and easy on the ears, not overstimulating, and also music that is not going to trigger sad emotions, because my threshold for overwhelming or sad emotions is a lot lower whenever it's cold outside. So like, I can't watch certain shows or certain movies like true crime and stuff like that. I can't listen to music that I actually really crave during the warmer months, which is like Deftones and more upbeat music. So during the cold months, I'm more introspective, more in my head, and like to process through thinking and understanding, and listening to music that has lyrics as like the main focus is better. And then during the springtime or the summertime, I'm the opposite. I become very sensory seeking whenever it's spring and summer, because I have so much anxiety that I need one thing to help my brain hold on to help me kind of get rid of the anxiety. So I listen to like Deftones and more like hard music or upbeat music because it helps me stay focused, and I need a lot of sensory input whenever it's warmer outside. If all of that makes sense. I'm trying to explain this, but I didn't like create an outline or anything, so it's a little bit harder for me to explain it. And I'm trying to remember everything that I need to say. But basically during the cold months, I become sad, sensory avoidant, introspective. During the warmer months, I become more sensual, sensory seeking, and happy. So that's what this episode is about. I focus a lot on my senses and my body during the warmer months. For this episode, the things that I'm excited for this spring are focused heavily on that kind of stuff. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the episode. And I'll also share a playlist later on, talk a little bit about it at the very end of this episode, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so the first thing that I'm excited for is being more kid-like as an adult. Like I said, I have more fun during the springtime and like the summertime. So spending time with my daughter and just being present and has fun and doesn't focus so much on all of the responsibilities of being an adult. Of course, those are important, but focusing most of my time and energy on just having fun. I'm excited for new beginnings, finally having warm weather, longer days, spring cleaning, because as a lot of people on my podcast know, my boyfriend and I, we both really struggle with keeping a clean home. It's like our biggest struggle. So during the springtime, I feel, since it's warmer outside, I feel more motivated to get up and do things and actually clean. And it honestly feels fun during the springtime. Opening windows, going outside. I'm naturally happier during the springtime. The blooming flowers, the sun beaming on me, becoming more in tune with my senses, watching TV with my daughter and relaxing on the couch while we have the window open. And I have a list of some TV shows that her and I watch together a lot. So there's Strawberry Shortcake, Max and Ruby. I loved Max and Ruby growing up because it's understimulating and it just calms my nervous system so much. It always has. I think that's why it was my favorite show whenever I was little. The Backyardigans, Bluey, Old Barbie movies, Gravity Falls. Even though I know Gravity Falls is kind of more of a fall TV show, but I love watching it during the spring. I'm excited for spring photo shoots. I love taking pictures during the spring. I also really like taking pictures that are more, I used to think that it was sexual, but it's not. It's more sensual. I love taking pictures that kind of like show my body more and see my more introspective or self-connecting side. So I love taking pictures like that. I also love taking pictures outside in the sun. I'm so excited for the Mother's Day photo shoot that we're going to do this year. I already planned our outfits for it, like family photos at Easter time. I'm excited for Easter in general. I have like an Easter dress for my daughter and I already have the dress that I'm going to be wearing. We don't really do much for Easter. Where we live in a very Christian, especially Baptist heavy area. So a lot of people celebrate Easter time during this time. Obviously, our family is not Christian, but we still love the culture of it. We get to spend time with family and go out and hunt eggs and dress up cute. So I love it. Even if it's not, even if it's different for us, we can still celebrate it, if that makes sense. Especially like my daughter, I like to buy her holiday themed outfits. I would buy so many new clothes for her. Now I try to like order from Whatnot or like Depop or Macari or something like that to get them secondhand, maybe thrift them. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes we end up buying new. Most of the time my mom or my boyfriend's grandmother will buy them for us, which is so nice. If they're new, they usually are the ones that buy Clemmie's outfits. But just having her in like cute outfit for Easter in the springtime in general, I feel like during the colder months with her, I'm usually more drawn to regular basic outfits because it's just easier because it's cold outside. But whenever it's warmer outside, I put her in the cutest outfit. While she's little, it's so fun to dress her up and to wear matching outfits and to do photo shoots. I actually stopped posting her face on my Instagram. I used to post it on there because most of the people who follow me are family or friends or people from my small town or people that I've met online and became friends with online that I don't mind seeing my daughter. But as I'm wanting my podcast to grow, I am becoming more aware of the fact that a lot of people can see my Instagram. So I deleted a bunch of pictures that show her face, or at least show her face straight on, just because it's really scary. And the way that the world is right now, I don't really talk about that a lot, about what's going on in our country, mostly because I just feel so sad and so many emotions and I feel so scared and anxious about everything, and my podcast kind of feels like a break from it. But I guess I will talk about it because I don't want to avoid it on this podcast. Everything with the Epstein files and Trump, the way that the United States is going right now, it's terrifying, genuinely terrifying, with ICE. And I can't believe that this is what our world is like. It feels like we're in like a movie that's not real, and it's terrifying and it's exhausting. And I usually am someone that faces my emotions head on, but with this, I think I have been kind of avoiding it, just trying to distract myself or forget about it, because that's all you can really do. I'm scared, but I'm also hopeful for the future. I saw a post one time that said like people who are more liberal are kind of dumb because we are so hopeful and we always hope for better, but we never get it. But I don't think that's a fair way to look at it. I think being hopeful is really the only thing that we can do in life. It's the only way that we can get through hard times. And of course we need to feel our emotions, but we don't need to stay trapped in that constant fear and anxiety. And I guess that's all I'm going to talk about with that on this episode. I don't know. I want this episode to be more fun and more light, but I also don't want to avoid things, and I want to make it clear where I stand and what I believe in. But since I talked about that, let's go ahead and get back into the things that I'm excited for this spring. I have eating outside at a restaurant. I love just going out to eat and meeting up with people, catching up with people that I care about, and just spending time together, even though I do sometimes get overwhelmed and I kind of shut down and go quiet a little bit. But even then, I love it so much. I love talking to people. I love being around people in general. Next, I have revisiting old hobbies or creating new ones. I feel like springtime is the time where we always just focus heavily on hobbies, which is kind of weird because the colder months is probably the time where we might need it the most. But whenever I feel happier, I naturally do things that make me happy. Some ideas of hobbies that you could do are baking, painting. My boyfriend and I, we actually paint together all the time. We're not good at it. I always paint frogs, but I don't give them legs. I forget. Like, I don't give them back legs. And anyone who knows me knows that I am the world's worst at drawing or painting or anything like that. But even then, it's so fun. We have like these little canvases, like really tiny ones that we'll paint. It's so fun. We have done it as a date idea literally since probably the first year we started dating. And we have been together for 6 years, I think. I don't even remember. There's scrapbooking, crafts, gardening, photography, bird watching, nature journaling. So like journaling while you're being present outside with nature, painting rocks. Okay, and then these ones are not necessarily hobbies, but just fun things that you can do during the spring. So going to a farmer's market, buying flowers, grocery shopping. I feel like grocery shopping is actually so fun during the spring and summertime. I don't know why. My boyfriend and I love grocery shopping. We love just going to the grocery store together. We don't do it a lot. A lot of the time my mom will just run by the grocery store for us. But whenever we do go, it's so fun. And during the springtime, I feel pulled to cook at home more and start trying to get my life together through actually buying groceries that we need instead of going out to eat all the time, and through like finding recipes and cooking at home, which is something that I normally don't enjoy doing that often. But whenever I romanticize it, it actually feels so fun. So I'm excited to do that a little bit more this spring. Closet clean out. I am someone that I don't feel emotional attachment to many things. I do with my daughter's clothes, but with everything else, I don't care. Like if it's in the way, I will get rid of it. I don't mind at all. And I'm like that with my clothes. If it doesn't fit me, if it doesn't feel right, I'm getting rid of it. If it doesn't match my body type or my style, or it doesn't feel like something that I'll actually wear, or if it's been in my closet for years and I've never touched it, I'm going to get rid of it so that I have room to buy things that actually work for me and that I can just throw on whenever I'm wanting to go out someday, but still look good and put together. So I love closet clean outs. I love going through my clothes and getting rid of things that I no longer need. And in all honesty, I don't have very many clothes, but I have enough basics and things that all match together that I can easily create multiple outfits out of the same items that I have, which is great. It takes a lot of the mental load of picking an outfit out away. And I also have a lot of items that I genuinely love. I love dresses. I have always been a dress person. But at the same time, sometimes I love wearing baggy pants and dressing a little bit more masculine. It doesn't look very masculine on my body type, but it still feels like me expressing my masculine side. So I love both parts of those, and I am excited for those outfits that I can put together during the springtime. The next one I have is discovering or bringing back warm weather style. So I love being able to go through my clothes and find things that I like. And the springtime is a great time for us to look through everything that we have and figure out how we want to dress, to go through Pinterest and create Pinterest boards for our spring style and spring fashion. Or even creating a Pinterest board for ideas that we want to do, like activities, or creating Pinterest boards for inspiration for the springtime. I love doing stuff like that. Creating playlists for the springtime to help get us in the spring spirit and mood. So now I'm going to talk about the playlist that I made for springtime. Like I said, I am someone who during the springtime in the warmer weather has more anxiety. So I need music that is upbeat enough to keep my mind off of the anxiety and to calm me down a little bit. The other day while I was at work, I was listening to Deftones, and my favorite album of theirs is Diamond Eyes. I feel like it's like their most intense album, but I was listening to the album just on shuffle all day at work because I was just so anxious and I was really confused by it. And that day was actually what made me start kind of understanding my patterns and my sensory issues and sensory needs based off of the weather. So there's a lot of that on the playlist. And the playlist is just like more upbeat music in general so that we can process emotions through our body. I am someone that really struggles with moving my body. It never feels right. I think I would actually benefit a lot from at least understanding how to professionally dance a little bit, because if it doesn't feel intentional, I don't like doing it. So instead, I'm just like kind of standing there stiff and awkward because I don't know what to do unless I'm intentional and I know what I'm supposed to be doing. So I struggle with that a lot. I'm working towards getting better at that, but something that I do a lot, and I've been doing it the past couple of nights because it's warm outside and I have been anxious, is I blast music in my ears, put my yoga mat, lay on top of it on the ground, feel the music throughout all of my body. Just notice everything that's going on in my body, but focusing mainly on the music. And it has to be loud, it has to be blasting, or I will start overthinking. That's what I created this playlist for. In the description of this playlist, I have, for processing warm weather anxiety in the body, spring is for sensuality. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the songs that I have on there. Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift. For springtime, I really love her albums Midnight and Lover, or maybe it's Midnights, I can't remember. Deftones, Diamond Eyes, like I talked about. Tate McRae, more upbeat songs, so like Revolving Door, Trying On Shoes, and Purple Lace Bra. Gracie Abrams, more upbeat songs, so Close to You, really all of the Secret of Us album. Sabrina Carpenter, especially Short and Sweet. I love her music during the springtime. I don't really listen to her very often, but during the springtime, I am always drawn to her music. Chappell Roan, I'm the same with Sabrina. I hardly ever listen to her, but whenever I need something that's more upbeat and distracting, I love listening to her. The two songs that I have on the playlist are My Kink is Karma and Naked in Manhattan. Nessa Barrett, I always come back to her. Every single time spring comes around, I always come back to Nessa. I always come back to Deftones. I always come back to music like that. So for Nessa Barrett, the Aftercare album and the Young Forever album, so great for the springtime and for processing anxiety. One Direction, in high school, I loved One Direction so much. I was literally obsessed with them. And I stopped listening to them for a really long time, but this spring I have found that I started listening to them more. I think because of Harry Styles' new album that he put out, it kind of inspired me to go back and listen to some of the old songs that I used to listen to in high school. So for One Direction, for the springtime, literally all of the Midnight Memories album, and also Stockholm Syndrome from 4, I think. One Direction is such a great thing to listen to, and it just makes me so happy. It reminds me of times in my life whenever I was genuinely so happy. And One Direction always reminds me of warm weather. It reminds me of, at my family's home, we had like a camper in the backyard that just kind of sat there. We had a really big yard, so like way towards the back, we had a camper back there. My friends and I would always go back to that camper and listen to One Direction or like create YouTube videos, talk about life. It was just so fun, and it was always whenever it was warmer outside. So One Direction always reminds me of that. And then I have Wisp, her song Pandora, Once Then We'll Be Free, and I Remember How Your Hands Felt on Mine. I Remember How Your Hands Felt on Mine is one of my favorite songs of her. I actually think once me and Hunter finally have the money to get married, I think I want to walk down the aisle to that song. It's just so beautiful. I love that song so much. It makes me feel so deeply, and just like everything else on this playlist, blasting it in my ears just helps me process so much. It helps me get out of my head. As women, I feel like we need to get out of our head a lot, but a lot of us, especially with like sensory issues or trauma that made us feel like we have to constantly be on edge, we stay in our heads a lot and have a hard time listening to and focusing on our bodies and what our body needs. So this spring, I want to focus more on my body, what my body needs, focus on my senses, looking around at my environment and noticing things that I normally wouldn't even pay attention to. Just being grateful for everything that's going on and everything that's around me. I always come back to that whenever it's warmer outside. And that actually leads to the journal prompt of this week's episode. List out 5 things for all 5 senses, specifically 5 things about spring. So what do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you taste? And feeling, like what do you touch? Or for me, I see feeling as like emotional feelings too. And I started doing this. I never finished it. I haven't finished it yet, but I will share a little bit of mine. So for feelings, because this is like my biggest sense, for me, sound and feeling as an emotion or physical sensations, they are the biggest sensory needs for me during this time. So for feeling, I have wind on my skin, warm weather and the sun, feeling happy, having more fun and less isolation, and presence. And then for sound, I have birds chirping, cars driving by, fun music, Clemmy yelling, and I didn't put a fifth one. And then I also have sights, so like the blue sky, trees becoming greener, flowers blooming, grass becoming greener, and animals. I am someone who doesn't really pay attention to my environment through sight. Feeling and sound is so overwhelming that I just kind of disregard everything else. I don't really notice what I see as much. So this journal prompt is really helpful for me in that way. And I want you to do this journal prompt to really focus on the present moment and what's going on. If you want to, you could go outside whenever it starts getting warmer. It's still kind of cold right now. It's confusing. It was literally snowing yesterday, and the day before we were wearing shorts. I live in Georgia, so it makes no sense. But go outside whenever it starts getting warmer, sit in the grass, in the sun, and just write down all of these things. List out these things that you feel grateful for, and really pay attention to every single sense, one at a time. Start with sight, and then move on to sound, move on to smell, move on to touch, and then move on to taste. And remember, list 5 for each. It was honestly really hard for me to list 5 for each, but it really helped me be present when I was doing this. I went outside in the car. I just did it in the driveway. I sat in the car and I rolled the window down, and I just really focused on my environment and everything that was around me. And I wrote down what I noticed and also things that I'm excited for once spring comes. And that's all that I have for this week's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really hope it helped you get into a better mood, get excited for spring coming up, get excited for the fact that the cold weather is finally going away. Even though, honestly, from Christmas to now literally felt like so fast. It felt like only 2 months, and it's been 6 months since October, and I have no idea how. Time is just going by so fast here lately for me, especially having a baby, or a toddler. She's a toddler now. And having such a fulfilling life and constantly being so busy. I love it, but it really makes me like kind of scared by how fast time is going by. So springtime and these next coming months, I'm trying to focus on being more present and actually enjoying the moment that I'm in instead of moving on to the next thing. I care deeply about everything that I do, so I put a lot of work into those things, but sometimes we just need to sit and be present with what's currently going on in this moment and the boring reality of life. And that's how we enjoy life, and that's how life doesn't just pass by where it feels like we're kind of just dissociated and not really truly being there. Okay, that's all for today. If something in this episode resonated, share it with a friend who needs a little reminder that they're not alone. If you want more conversations like these, be sure to follow and rate this podcast. Downloading this episode is one of the best ways to help this podcast grow, so be sure to do that. If you want to find me on social media, all of my links are in my link tree in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next Sunday.